You are listening to Committed, an ongoing conversation about marriage, intimacy, relationships, and sex. I'm a marriage and relationship coach dedicated to helping couples and individuals like you build stronger, more fulfilling relationships. I have a deep understanding of communication dynamics, conflict resolution, and intimacy. I guide clients through challenges with compassion and expertise. Hi, hello. So I'm back. I haven't been here for a while, as some of you know, because life just got really busy and starting up a video podcast was quite an endeavor based on the fact that before I was just doing an audio podcast and Michael and I were able to just jump on, have a conversation, which is so much more easily facilitated by two people than one person. So doing this alone, I was not only trying to set up my office and do all of the things that were required for the microphone and the audio and the video and all of those things. I played around with external microphone or external video cameras and all of that, but figuring out what is the script. And so if you have hung around up to this point, thank you for being here. I'm hoping that I'm going to have some more time to do these episodes for you and make them helpful and short and sweet. I don't want to go on forever in the episode, but I also want to give you some really good information that you can use to bring back into your relationships and marriages and just help you have more successful relationships with other people. So, for today, I want to talk about how to come into 2025 in a strong place in your relationship. So, let's get right into it. So, number one, talking with your partner before the end of the year or right when 2025 starts about what you want your intimacy to look like. And what I mean by this is your physical and emotional intimacy, because when we think about the word intimacy, we often think sex. And sex is obviously a huge part of relationships for some people. And then, believe it or not, I have couples in my practice where sex isn't the most important thing to them. And so they're not really focused on having a frequency of sex that is high. Okay. So this could also look like having emotional intimacy that feels more fulfilling and connected to one another. And it's one of the easiest things to drop off in relationship. And a lot of times what I see is that it's a struggle for one person. Like they're really struggling with not getting that connection, whereas the other person is a little bit more unaffected by that in the relationship. And this could be for various reasons. One of the reasons being that one person derives their connection in the relationship from sex. And a lot of times, not that relationships can't be flipped, because they absolutely can be, but many times men are deriving their connection with their partners through sex, and that's where they're feeling connected once they are getting that physical connection. And then women can sometimes and tend to more often be the opposite, where once they have the emotional connection, they want the physical connection. So my suggestion is really getting on the same page about that, meaning being able to share with each other how you feel intimacy in your relationship, how you feel connection, so that if you're my partner, I know, okay, this is what you need to feel connected in our relationship. And then, okay, this is what I need to feel connected in the relationship, so that you're aware of it. Because many couples don't have these conversations. They don't talk about, oh, well, when do you feel most connected in our relationship? And I think that many of you can really hone in on, and you could name what that is for your partner. But also, I think that a lot of us can't, because we're thinking about ourselves and what's going on with us and what's going on in our world and our life at the moment. And sometimes it can be easy to kind of let that part of it slip, where we're not really thinking about our partner as much and what's going to be most satisfying to them. And or there could be barriers to give that to them, what they're actually needing. Okay. Number 2 is make an agreement on how you would like your conflict to go. So this one is an interesting one, and it can be difficult to do without counseling or coaching, because our conflict styles can be very ingrained into us, right? So when I do things a certain way because I've learned to do them a certain way, I will continue doing that because it's easier for me to do that than to shift and to do something else. However, your conflict is going to drive how connected you are going to feel in your relationship, because conflict is inevitable in a relationship. We need conflict in order to grow in our relationships. So by having conflict together, we can elevate our relationship, or we can really de-elevate it and really hurt the relationship and damage it if we're not doing the conflict well. And so sitting down and talking about, how does our conflict go? Do we come out of our conflict feeling stronger, feeling better about the relationship, or are we feeling more disconnected after the conflict is over? It is normal to feel disconnected in conflict, but we want to reduce the amount of time that you're feeling disconnected in the conflict, because then it is easier to get back into connection. Whereas if you're disconnected for a really long time, sometimes we lose exactly what it is that we're in conflict about. And it's hard to then resolve those things or conclude them, because not everything can be resolved, but it's more about how you're doing the conflict. How are we having this conflict, right? I can be more comfortable having a conflict with my partner if I know that we're doing the conflict in a way that is comfortable enough to me. And growth is essential here, right? Because conflict is not always comfortable for everyone. In some relationships, partners are more comfortable having conflict and they're fine with it, right? And they're okay to be in conflict, and they either know that everything's going to be okay, or they're just used to conflict, and so it is more comfortable for them to be in that state, which doesn't necessarily make it healthy, but it just makes it feel more normal for them if they grew up with a lot of conflict. And then for some other people, it's wildly uncomfortable, and so they avoid it like the plague. And so, again, really getting on the same page about that and where you want to go is going to strengthen your relationship going into 2025. Number 3, radical acceptance is key. So this one is huge, and I would say it's even the cornerstone of relationship. And the reason why is because, have you ever walked down the street, or have you ever seen an old couple? I was going to say walked down the street and seen an old couple, or spoken with an older couple who has been married for a really long time. One thing that you'll notice about their relationship is they let the other person be who they are. And this is going to be a combination. It's going to be a combination of healthy influence that has happened over the years between the two of them, and letting the other person be themselves. And it can be very hard, because it would be a lot easier if our partners did things the way that we do them. We go through different challenges in life, like having children, growing our family, dealing with our separate families, bringing those two families together and meshing those, friends over time, work, trying to figure out where we're going to live, what type of house we're going to buy, what kind of apartment we're going to rent, what kind of food we're going to eat on a regular basis. The more that we can move into acceptance of, oh, this is the way that my partner is, this is what they like, this is what they don't like, this is the person that they want to be, these are the goals that they want to achieve, the more acceptance we can have, the better off our relationships are and the more successful that they are. I truly believe that people separate and get divorced because they cannot accept who their partner is and the way that they are. They're seeking to find someone who's more in line with who they are, which isn't necessarily a bad thing to do, and I could go into that in a whole nother episode. But we seek to make our partners into the people that we want them to be, and that can be such an uphill and never-ending battle. So ask yourself, how can I accept my partner more for who they are today? And maybe how can my partner accept me? Maybe what is one thing or three things that would feel so nice for my partner to accept about me moving into the new year? And then number 4, stop trying to have a perfect relationship. Again, with the divorce thing, I truly believe that people are trying to have a perfect relationship. And when they realize that the perfect relationship does not exist, they're exiting the relationship in order to find something that is better and more aligned. And at my core, I really believe that for the majority of people who are doing this, you are trading one set of problems for another set of problems. You may get a different partner, and you may not deal with the same types of problems that you have dealt with in the past. However, you will deal with another set of problems. And so which ones are you willing to and wanting to deal with? You will not have a perfect relationship. No one will have a perfect relationship. A successful relationship is going to be one where you experience mutual respect and love and care for one another. And there are many, many couples who struggle with those things. But that does not mean that they cannot achieve them with motivation to do it, and sometimes, many times, with help and assistance and support. And so as you move forward in your relationship, going into this new year, ask yourself, how can I let up a little bit on this relationship? How can I have more ease? How can I focus back on myself? One of the things that I really teach in my practice and work with many clients on is this aspect of codependency. I need to control and fix and change everything on them so that I can be good with myself. But being good with yourself, it doesn't have as much to do with other people as it has to do with you, as it has to do with me, right? If I focus on what I want and need, and I know that that's not an easy plug right there, right? Because there are so many interconnected facets of our relationships that we have to focus on in order to make things happen. But if I keep that focus on what's going on for me while having awareness for how what I'm doing affects other people and coming from a place of love and kindness, well, then my relationship is going to be better. Because if I care for myself, my relationship is going to work better in return. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. If you're new to our community, welcome. We really want our podcast to grow. So please like, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review with your feedback on how we can make your experience most catered to you. As I work with my private clients continuously, this podcast is a great way for me to help more of you. Please reach out